Okay, listen class, I did some work with your marking and I just want you to get an idea of how you should be doing your work. So you'll notice here I've got the question on top here. So for number 3, sorry for it being kind of skewed, but kind of way it works sometimes. Which number is not a perfect square? Show your work. So for this question, I knew right off the bat that when I was going to mark it, I was going to give each one of these questions 2 points each. So that meant then that I was going to get 8 points just for question 3. So if I'm asking you for 2 points of work, then you need to show 2 points of work. Now, figuring out perfect squares. The first one that we have here is a 100. Well, I can do that quickly in my head, and I'm a smart person, just like you guys are smart. And many of you got this question right. In fact, I think everybody got it correct. But the work that was missing was the key part. So it's going to be written like this. So we have 100, all right, is what is being worked on. Now I need to find the square root of it in order to figure out whether it's a perfect square. Well, I know that the answer is 10. The square root of 100 is 10. That line alone is worth 1 mark. Now, it says which number is not a perfect square? Show your work. So just so that I know that I'm doing the right thing, I would write down yes, just to indicate that yes, I know this is a perfect square. Then I go on to B, and I go the square root of 121 equals 11. So yes, this one here is a perfect square. Then I get to the square root of 135. And I know that this is not, because I know that the next number after 11 squared is 12 squared, and 12 squared is 144. So this one here is no. Now, is that satisfactory as a sentence to show that I know the answer? No. I need to write that in sentence form, but I'm not going to just yet because I'm going to move on to D, because it says which one is not a perfect square. And I have to answer that question in sentence form. So now the square root of 400, and for quick mental math, the square root of 4 is 2, and I have 2 zeros together, and I'm just going to split them apart. So the square root of that one equals 20. So this one here is yes. So for my sentence for this answer, I'm going to write down the number that is not a perfect square is 135, period. So have I answered the question? Now look, which number is not a perfect square? The number that is not a perfect square is 135. So I've done my work, I've shown my work, and I've written up my answer. Now we're going to move on to the second question that I want to show you folks. So what is the perimeter of a square with an area of 625 centimeters squared? Show your work. I would say probably about 50% of you, oh no, maybe more like 70% of you actually did not complete the question. So what is the perimeter of a square with an area of 625? So I'm going to look at some keywords here. I'm going to move this guy out of the way a little bit. Move him over here. There we go. So I've got some keywords. We've got perimeter. I'm going to erase that and redo that because we just love the smartboard in this classroom. Okay, there we go. Perimeter is very important. I know that I have an item of a square, and I have a value of 625 centimeters squared. So because it's a word problem, I'm going to write down my given information. Given. So we are given an area of a square. So I'm going to go ASQ to show that it's the area of a square equals 625 centimeters squared. Great. So now I have to go P of the square equals question mark. Things are getting a little sloppy here with this. So now I'm going to figure out exactly how to do this. So I know if I draw it out, because I have told you guys many times that I have to draw things out. Okay, so my area here is 625, so I've drawn that out. So that means I know that this side equals this side. And I'm symbolizing that with these 2 lines, one on each of these. And that means that anything I write this straight line on, they must be equal. So because it's a square, they're equal. But also because it's a square, that means that I have to find the square root of this. So I need to find the square root of 625. So step number 1, and so you'll notice that I would put this below here, in this area here, except I don't have a lot of space right here. If you were in your book, you would definitely want to do that, okay? Now, I'm going to go back over to this side, and I'm going to start writing my work now, okay? So, step 1, find the square root of 625, and I've learned that I can memorize that value, so that value is equal to 25. That's one of those ones that you'll memorize for the rest of your, have memorized for the rest of your life. So now I know that one side equals 25. So I'm going to write this in my given information. So S equals sides. So I have to let them know what S stands for. And then S equals 25. Use my units here, centimeters. So 25 centimeters. Now to find perimeter, I have to add all 4 sides together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 25 times 4. And that equals an answer of 100. So my perimeter is going to be 100 centimeters. Not centimeters squared, centimeters. Okay? So then I'm going to write a sentence because it is a word problem. And I'm going to write the perimeter of the square is 100 centimeters. So now that I'm finished, I go back and I just double check my work to make sure that I have answered the question. So what is the perimeter of a square? Yep, I've got the perimeter of the square is there. And so it's a square with 625 centimeters. So that means my area, side and side, when I multiply them together, it equals 625. So I'm just going to double check my work here on the side to make sure that I understand that concept. 625. So because of that, we know that 625 is going to be used to find the square root to get the side, which is 25. So each side equals 25 centimeters. I then do my math work. 25 times 4 is 100, and then the perimeter of the square is 100 centimeters. And that would say, which I would then say that that would be a full mark response, which is worth 3 marks in this case. So if you have any questions, remember, go back and look through your work. Use your textbook. Your textbook also has sections in it. Let's see now, there we go. You'll notice that in each section of your practices, they tell you which lesson to go to. So if you noticed you've had a hard time, go back in your notes, go back in your textbook and look through them. They are there to help you. So I know that if I had a problem with number 9, I need to go back to lesson 1.4 to see if I can figure it out. If you are still having difficulty, that's when you need to make arrangements to come and see me, and I can definitely help you get straight on that, as well as helping you to figure out maybe where your problems are. Okay? We'll talk to you guys later.